Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to our board meeting today, Wednesday, November 16, 2022. I call the meeting to order at 5:30. And this time I will continue with the roll call. Mrs. Gilpas, Mrs. Garcia, Mr. Ocampo,
Here.
Mr. Mercado,
Present.
Mr. Jimenez. I'm here. At this time, Mr. Koenig, can you please let us the flag salute?
Ready? Salute. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States.
Thank you, Mr. Koenig. Mr. Koenig, do we have any spotlight items today?
There are no spotlights tonight.
Okay. I have two spotlights. As a president of this board, I congratulate Mrs. Garcia and Mr. Ocampo to having obtained the majority of the votes in the recent elections. The people spoke, and through their votes, they gave in their confidence once again to continue working as a team for our students. I also congratulate our Superintendent of Education, Ms. Monica Anso, who oversees Mrs. Rosa Carranza, Program Manager of Extended Learning, for her excellent organization in different programs we provide for our students, such as sport, music, and folkloric. Thank you. Any spotlights? No more? Okay, we continue. Now we will adopt the agenda. I need a motion to adopt the agenda. Ms. Garcia. Yes, Ms. Garcia, Ms. Gil. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay. Motion by 5 votes. Thank you. Now presentations. We have a presentation of division. Presentation, Monica Anso, Associate Superintendent, Educational Services, Alice USD Community School Program.
Good evening, Board President Jimenez, Superintendent Koenig, trustees, community. My name is Monica Anso. I am the Associate Superintendent of Educational Services, and I'm here to give you a quick rundown on our community schools planning grants. We have the presentation in front of you. Back in April, the district applied for a community schools planning grant through the California Community Schools Partnership. The state had set aside $3 billion in grant funding that would be spent over 7 years. You can hear me? Okay. And the focus is on academics, on health, social services, youth and community development, and community engagement. So for the next few slides, I'm just going to go over what the definition of a community school is, the community school pillars, which are part of the planning and the focus of the state, the community school grant that we received, and then some of the schools that were identified through the planning when we were writing the planning grant. So what is a community school model? It's a school transformational model. It's to disrupt the poverty, to address the longstanding inequities, and to really build upon the assets of the students, the staff, and the community as a whole in order to make sure that we service the whole child. This graphic here, you see what a school, community school model would look like. So we would have those wraparound services that within the school. We would have the wellness support. We would have a youth development and enrichment, family support in different areas, academic support, and the college career readiness for our students. Part of the grant is to create the plan for the community schools using 4 pillars: an integrated student support system, an expanded learning time and opportunities, active family engagement, and collaborative leadership and practices. See, if you look at bullet number 2, the expanded learning time and opportunities, we also have the learning opportunity programs now. So this is it's the state's way of saying, okay, we're giving you this for a community school, but we're also giving you money to expand the school day, right? So even our universal TK. So this is all part of their plan. So what we applied for was the planning grant. There was 2 types of grants. There was a planning grant, which is a 2-year for schools or school districts that are not identified as community schools. And then they had an implementation grant, which is a 5-year plan for $500,000. So we received the $200,000 one-time funding for 2 years. And this funding would be to hire someone to come and support this effort and really creating a plan using those 4 pillars and really establishing a community group to develop the plan. So part of the planning, that some of those elements would have that stakeholder engagement or that partner engagement with students, parents, staff, and community, establishing an advisory council for the community school planning grant, develop a shared vision, take assessment of what is needed, and then formulate that plan. So our community school coordinator, if you this is another graphic just to show you the cycle that the person would engage in a needs assessment. What do our students, families, staff, and community need? Based on the needs, what are the services we need to incorporate, and then establish the services, and then do another check to see, okay, what do we need again? Are these services having that impact we're looking for? While we were writing the grant, we identified 4 schools. I think we pre-identified as once we hire the person, the community schools coordinator, they will help with those assessments throughout the district. But when we first wrote the plan, we identified Jesse G. Sanchez, Virginia Aroka Barton, Fremont Elementary, and Martin Luther King, based on referrals made to our current family resource centers, to our counselors. So based on to our different mental health services. So based on the needs of the students in the community, that's why those 4 schools were identified based on our data. So once again, here's a graphic of at the end what the community school would look like. If you look at the rings here, the student would be at the center of everything that we're doing. Then the second layer would be the parents and family, and then the community supporting that the student and the families. And so you see all the supports around the family and the student, because at the end of the day, we want our students to be successful. So now questions and answers.
Mr. Ocampo?
Yeah, I'm curious. So this pretty much is for planning purposes.
Yes.
More than anything else. I guess just sort of just a statement. I know in the past, we've been pretty good in having memoranda or working with nonprofits and working with other governmental agencies, and we're good at that because we have all kinds of MOUs with all kinds of governmental agencies, all kinds of nonprofits. But something that I've always thought we could improve on is our working with the private sector of Salinas. So just as kind of a recommendation, something to throw out there. Hopefully that'll be looked at. I hope. I don't know if that's a possibility to maybe try to find MOUs with private sectors to see how they can help our students. Obviously, one way they can help us with money, obviously. But I'm wondering, is that something that maybe you'll be looking at also possibly?
I think that's a very important piece that you just brought up because that would be part of the planning, right? So the person that be coordinating the services that would ensure that they were reaching out to our stakeholders and having that advisory. I think the key point or a key element is that self-assessment. What do we really need? If on this slide, I think that take that self-assessment, really conducting a needs assessment, and then doing that whole cycle. This is what we need based on the data. And then
Right.
what are the services that we need and who do we contact? Who do we partner up with? Would that be a nonprofit? Would that be a private group? What is it that who provides the service we need? And who has the even the capacity to provide at the level of service that we need?
The other thing I wanted to bring up is that obviously what we're talking about in this grant is student learning, obviously. I mean, we're hoping that as a result of this money and the programs that we put into effect, that our students will improve in terms of their learning. Usually, it's test scores that tell us that. That's what we look at. But I've always thought that one very important thing that we do look at, that I question, like, with how much intent, because intentionality is a very important idea, I think. And just the whole concept of a culture of learning. What is a learning culture? And I think that's so important. And I would hope that this whole grant might also look at that. What is a learning culture, and how can we create a learning culture with a lot of intention? And what's the word? Intentionality.
Intentionality.
Sorry.
Intentionality.
With a lot of
And
intention.
purpose.
Yes, what you just said. Because I think that's important. So, I guess I spent a lot of time thinking about what exactly is a culture of learning and how can we develop it and how can we implement it. And I've always thought in the back of my mind that, as I said before, that the private sector has been something that we have kind of sort of not paid enough attention to. Yeah, it's not a criticism. We do a lot of great stuff, but I just think it's something that maybe would be worth looking at. Possibility, who out there can help us, whether it's ag business, whether it's technology, a lot of possibilities out there. So those are basically my comments. Yeah.
Thank you.
Gilpas?
Yes, thank you. Thank you for the presentation, and of course, I support this 100%. Although I do have some questions, because we have one community school already, LSL Community School. And I've always wondered, well, what's the difference between LSL Community and the other schools in the district? And I don't see any difference, just that it's called the community school. And then when I look on the slide that says, what does a community school look like? Well, it looks like what our schools already look like. So what I'm asking is this grant going to enhance the services? Because a community school, let's say like Fremont School will be a community school, but Steinbeck isn't going to be that. But Steinbeck is still gonna get family support, youth development and enrichment, wellness support. So what makes the big difference? And I support it again. I just don't know the answer to that, and that's only one of my questions.
So that, no, actually,
Thank
that's it's a good question, because I think that's, as this is a new model that the state is giving us the grants so that we can bring that to our districts, is when we look at what we have in Alisal, the need has always been there. We know that. And I think that is one of the things in our district that we have as an asset. We know our students need shelter, they need food, they need to be able to get medical attention, dental attention, eyeglasses, whatever they need in order to learn, because we live in a community that has that need. And we embrace it. That's part of already our culture. We embrace that, and we've been doing this for a long time. Now it's just going to enhance it. I believe LSAC community has the name because and I'm just speaking out of the time I've been here. LSAC Resource Center at one time was called the Healthy Start. That's why it was a community school. So that concept has been around for some time now. But now the state is making sure that we enhance it within the school. So for example, we currently have 3 family resource centers. So each resource center, if you look to what they're offering, and you look at this graphic that I have here, the last one, is they already are offering legal advice. They're offering health clinics. The mobile clinic comes here every Thursday. We already have after school and Saturday programs. We have the mental health services coming in. We have counseling. So we are already offering a lot of the services, but now how do we bring in engage other community members? How do we form that council to really look at what we have? And is it serving our community at the best? So do we bring the services as close as possible? Because sometimes if this resource center is here, people might think it's just for MLK. So how do we make sure that we bring those same services to Fremont? Or we bring those services if we think the need is at Creekside or Steinbeck, how do we bring them there? So how do we ensure that everyone has access, and then within the school, that school is almost that learning culture in the school?
Thank you. And you kind of answered my question, because I was going to ask how will the community schools work with the resource centers, And I think the thing that I would be concerned with the most, that a school that didn't get chosen to be part of the grant, I'm lucky because 3 of the schools are in the area that I represent, so yay, right? But the other schools, you don't want, because we represent all of the schools, not just the ones in our area. You just wouldn't want those students to lack services because they aren't a school that was selected to be a community school. So we just want a balance throughout the district so that all students can be served. But you're right, and I think that we are already doing this, so we want to make it noticeable. Oh, it's a
Yes.
community school now. It's a community school, and this is why this is happening there, and that the parents could see, and they work well. The Padres Unidos, I think, had a lot to do with getting this grant for us and so forth. So we want to involve all parents and so forth. And so you kind of answered the question, because it was on how they were going to work with the resource center.
And again, going back to our current resource centers, if you look at our LCAP, it's part of our goal number 3. So it's already embedded into our system. And then how are we going to sustain this within a school building, not outside? Maybe, like, again, MLK is really close to one of the resource centers. Maybe the needs are here, but we already have it built into our LCAP. And now with this grant, and I think having the person really focus on the needs, and then they might say, no, we already have all the services. We're just going to enhance this more. Or, you know what, we really need this other service from this other person. So I think it's using that funding and really examining what we have now and assessing and working from our strengths.
Thank you, Mrs. Sampson.
Mrs. Garcia?
So thank you for explaining to me what a community school was, because I wasn't quite sure either. I know Alisal Community School's been in existence for a while, but I didn't really know why they were a community school. But I mean, you pretty much answered all my questions except for, so do you foresee us building on to these schools? Like, are you thinking that we might need to use some of the, to add on, to build on the site, to expand the buildings that are already currently there? Or are you just thinking mobile clinics, everything mobile, just, I mean, nothing permanent?
I think all of the above, until the person comes in and we do the needs assessment. And I think that's one of the concerns we even have now with, we're expanding our kindergarten to
Right.
become all-day kindergarten. We are going to, our after-school program is just, they're blowing up because of all the money that we're receiving and the services we need to offer, that we need more space. So that's one of our tasks is, with Mr. Koenig and cabinet, is to go look at what we have in existence now, and can we add on a building if we need it?
Mm.
Or how do we restructure so that we
Mhm.
open up that space for this, for not just even a community school, but for even our expanded learning, because it's part of it. It's
Right.
part of the
So-
project.
Yeah, thank you, because I did kind of, okay, how do you fit it all in? You know, for me, I'm thinking, okay, there should be, I mean, I've been to some of those sites and unless they're mobile, like, people coming
Yes.
in, then how do you offer all those services? It'd be nice to see, you know, buildings like covered basketball buildings in every single site, like rec rooms. Then that way you could expand. But thank you.
Thank you.
No more questions? Thank you, Mrs. Sanson. Okay, we continue. We have another presentation. Department presentation, first trimester. Student data, Director of Research, Evaluation and Enrollment, Dr. Esteban Hernandez.
Start again. Good evening, Mr. Jimenez, board members, Mr. Koenig, and colleagues and community members present. Dr. Hernandez, Director of Assessment and Accountability, and I'm happy to come back to present to you on our local assessments. Last time I came, I shared with you progress made by our students on the state assessments, which is our summative measure. I'm gonna make sure that I don't get any interruptions here. Thank you. And I also shared with you regarding the local indicators that will be reported as part of our state's accountability system, the state dashboard, California dashboard will be public in December. Tonight, I'm going to share with you progress that our schools are demonstrating, our students are demonstrating on district required assessments per our assessment calendar. So we have a list of district benchmarks that are required by grade level, and I will be sharing with you results for our baseline and our trimester 1 assessments. Starting with our reading and math assessments, I'll also share with you progress made by our students on foundational skills assessments, the Wonders Phonics, as well as the direct developmental reading assessment in English and Spanish, which is one of our foundational reading assessments, and writing. So again, this is our local metrics that are more about what's happening now. When I presented last in August, I shared with you what took place at the end of the year with the state assessments in ELA, math, and in ELD. So that is completed and comparison from one year to the next. This year, I will be presenting to you each trimester progress made for each trimester. As you'll see, the tables that I'll present tonight will have a space for trimester 2 and 3, and I'll be sharing with you what's happened thus far. So the first assessment is the STAR reading assessment that is administered for students and required for students in 3rd through 6th grade, and is based on a Lexile score. So what is a Lexile? Lexile is a measure of the rigor that our students can handle in terms of the complexity that they can read or master. So it indicates the difficulty of the materials that a student can read and understand. So unlike last year, I will be presenting to you where our students stand in terms of the relative Lexile that they're to achieve by the end of the year. So what's the average Lexile that our students by grade level are currently demonstrating by school? And again, the Lexile is how difficult is a metric that indicates the difficulty of the material that they can handle based on the types of text that they read. So we have a table that indicates the expectations, and this is part of the assessments that teachers receive and the calendar that they receive. And we have in 3rd grade, for example, the expectation is for students to be within a range of a Lexile score of 520 to 820, 4th grade 740 to 940, 5th grade 830 to 1010, 6th grade 925 to 1070. So that is what is expected for them if they are performing on grade level. If they are within the scope that is in the middle column, that means that they are beginning readers. BR stands for beginning reader, up to a Lexile of 400 in 3rd grade. That means that they are not performing within the rigor expected in 3rd grade. And they need additional support. So that column, if they're within that middle column, then they need additional support beyond what we call tier 1, which is what's supposed to be happening, facilitated by the teacher in the classroom first. If once they improve and they achieve a Lexile as described on the 3rd column, then they can be exited from that extra support and return to tier 1 instruction. So again, the expectations are the ones that are described on the 1st column, 3rd, 4th, 5th, and 6th. So this table shows you where our students' average Lexile scores are in relation to the end of the year goal. Again, for 3rd grade, the end of the year goal is to be within 520 to 820. And this is the average. These are the average Lexiles by school. The green indicates the school at baseline and trimester 1 that averaged the highest Lexile average. I mean, again, average the highest Lexile in the district. For baseline, it was Steinbeck with the Lexile of 165. Again, the relation is in comparison to the end of the year score of 520 to 820. 520 to 820 is again the expectation for end of the year. As you see, the scores are improving. The minuses mean that the students score as beginning readers. So if you were to imagine a number line, the scores are split between a BR or a negative 400 to about 1,000 Lexile. So we want to move those kids from that negative 400, which is the lowest Lexile possible, up to 1,000, which makes them get into the positive range where they need to be. So you can see some of the schools at trimester 1 were already within the positive range. We have a few that are still in 3rd grade at the negative. But as you go up so as you go up the grade levels, you can see that we have fewer grade levels and schools with an average that is in the negative. You can see for 4th grade trimester 1, Alisal Community is already averaging a 390, Lexile of 390. As you can see, majority of the schools are within the positive range where they need to be moving towards. Fifth grade, you see the Lexile continuing to grow or build. Again, the highest here being Creekside with the Lexile averaging at 770 with an end of the year goal of 830 to 1010. I estimate that that school will probably meet that end of the year goal as they progress. You look at the scores there. They had an average of 100 points, Lexile points of improvement between baseline and trimester 1. And so did several other schools. So they're going in the right direction. I want to point out that students build the language. You will see that the scores in the 4th, 5th, and 6th grade will approximate the grade level expectations because they'll have more language to penetrate the content needed. The majority of our students being English learners will need to build that language across the grades. 6th grade, this is the perspective on the STAR reading. As you can see, there's been improvement when comparing them to that 3rd grade entry point on the STAR reading assessment. As you can see, you see the green at the top where it says STAR reading there. I'll move on to STAR reading in Spanish, and you'll see that I'll transfer over to Salmon. Anytime you see that banner in Salmon, that means the scores are for results in Spanish. So we have fewer schools that assess in Spanish because not all students are receiving instruction in specific grade levels in Spanish. Therefore, they do not administer the assessment in Spanish. But as you can see, when you look at 3rd grade Spanish compared to 3rd grade English, the students are using the language they bring from home. We see no baseline or trimester score in the negative range. That means that their students are understanding and comprehending more. They're using their first language to help themselves. The same with 4th grade, you see them going up. 5th grade, as you can see, not all the schools are represented because not all the schools have to administer the test all the way to 6th grade because we have fewer schools now up to 6th grade that are continuing to administer in Spanish. So that's STAR reading in English and in Spanish. The next assessment is STAR math. This year, I am going to present to you an equivalent metric as I report scores from our district assessments that is similar to that I just shared related to rigor in reading. In reading, we measure rigor through the Lexile. The complexity or the difficulty in math is measured through a quantile. So Lexile, if you think leer or lectura, Lexile. If you think quantity or cantidad, quantile, math. So the metric for reading would be the Lexile, the metric for math would be the quantile. So the quantile measures, the measure is used to help educators understand how students are growing in mathematics on a single scale across grade levels. And like I shared with you, with reading, we have end of year expectations again for math. And I'm going to focus on that end of the year expectation. So for 3rd grade, at the beginning of the school year, we have students that were to have been scoring a quantile of 240 quantiles, all the way to 680 in 6th grade, with the end of the year expectations being from 490 all the way to 890. When you look at these results, and this is the first time we used the quantile as a metric in our district, we wanted to have a comparable metric similar to the one in reading that measures the rigor. We're using this as the one that will let us know how much students are handling the difficulty of the material they're exposed to. So in math, we're using the quantile now. We started 3rd grade with pretty low scores with again, the lowest end. In this case, we call it the emergent mathematician. If we were to look at the actual report, it says EM 400. That EM represents minus 400. It means that they're emerging in their mathematics skills. But as we go up the grades and the students continue to develop language, penetrate the content of math, you see that the scores continue to improve. So you see 3rd grade end of the year goal is 490. Fifth grade, fourth grade is 680. Once you get to fifth grade, now we see the score starting to rise because we see students with more language to access content of math, which now requires a lot of reading and writing compared to what we used to administer before in math. There's a lot more language required in that content area now. So at the end of the year for fifth grade, for example, is 810. As you can see, we already have a school at 515 based on trimester one results, and all of them have shown improvement. If you compare baseline to trimester one in all the metrics tonight, you'll see that there's progress happening. In sixth grade, the end of the year math quantile requirement is 890. We have some schools that are up there. If you look at Montella, for example, at 710, Alsa Community is 610, Creekside is 660. They're all progressing and moving towards that end of the year rigor requirement, which would be the 890 by the time they're in sixth grade. So that's STAR Math administered for students. I'm reporting for students in third through sixth. The next critical assessment that is administered for our students is the DRA. The DRA is the Developmental Reading Assessment, which is a foundational reading assessment administered for students in all classes K1, 2, in their first and second grade, in English and in Spanish based on their program of instruction. DRA in English, EDL in Spanish, Evaluación del Desarrollo de la Lectura in Spanish. So the DRA, the purpose of it is to serve as a universal screener that measures key basic early literacy skills. So initially, when the students are in kindergarten, the DRA is only determining basic concepts of print, whether students can point to a word and follow, know where the first word is, where they start reading, whether they're showing directionality left to right or top to bottom. All those are basic concepts of print that are measured initially through the DRA. So here are the results for students. And here are first of all, the expectations. So we expect our students in kinder to end the year with at least a level 4 or higher. In first grade with at least a level 16 or higher. In second grade with at least a level 28 or higher. So for trimester 1 in kinder, our expectation was for them to be at least at a level 2. We do not administer the assessment, the DRA, in kinder at the beginning of the year as a baseline, as students are coming in, and it's quite cumbersome to administer for students who have never been in school and are just starting their course with us. Last year, we only administered it at the end of the school year, trimester 3. This year, we reinstated it starting in trimester 1. So the expectation for trimester 1 to be able to reach that level 4 was for them to average a level 2, trimester 1, a level 3, trimester 2, a level 4, trimester 3. So I'll be sharing with you how this is progressing as students continue to build their basic foundational skills. Again, that's kinder. The next one is first grade level, first grade. And the expectation for trimester 1 was to be at least a level 8. You can see Chavez is averaging a level 7 at this point. That's first graders who took the assessment this time around. So there's improvement. If you look at all of them, there's improvement from the baseline to trimester 1 at all the schools. Second grade, the expectation is to close the year with a level 28. And we have a couple of schools. We have several schools, but one that's already at a level 15. Again, trimester 1, to be able to reach that level 20 at the end of the year, we have to benchmark it. So trimester 1, the expectation is at 20, trimester 2 at 24, close the year with the level 28, be ready for third grade. Moving on to the salmon bands, now we're looking at it in Spanish. So not all the schools have scores because not all the schools administered this test in Spanish. So these are the same averages for the DRA, in this case, the EDL, the Evaluación del Desarrollo de la Lectura. by grade level in Spanish, kinder. And this is first grade. As you can see, one school in Spanish is already at the level that would be expected, Barden with scoring a level 8, which would be the baseline or benchmark expected for trimester 1. And in second grade, you see that a couple of schools are averaging a 15, Barden and Loya, and moving right along. Again, if you look at all the tables that I'm sharing tonight, there's progress from baseline to trimester 1 in every one of these assessments at all the schools. Again, the green indicates those that average the highest. Another one of the assessments that is expected is the Wonders Phonics survey. The Wonders Phonics survey is administered to students in kindergarten. It's the first assessment they take, and it's the same assessment that we can administer multiple times to show growth, to see if the students can, how students learn their letter names, their letter sounds, their consonant, vowel, consonant words. And these are all assessments that are prerequisite to that first assessment I shared with you, that is the development reading assessment. So students need to have these phonics in coordination with building the concepts of print as they build language and comprehension. So the first assessment they take as they come in, again, is the Wonders Phonics survey. Here are the expectations by trimester. The yellow indicates skills that are developing. The green indicates the time when those skills are supposed or expected to be mastered. So again, green is in development. Yellow is in development, green is mastered. So you see that baseline and trimester 1 have the same tasks or skills assessed, but some of them by trimester 1 are expected to be mastered. As you see at the far right, the questions that are tested and the number of questions that are anticipated to be achieved by trimester. So towards the end of the year, if you look at trimester 3 in English or Spanish, in English we have the expectation that they have mastered tasks 1A through 3B, and then development of tasks 4A through 5B. If students are able to show mastery and development of those, then they can have the readiness to pass on that first reading assessment, the DRA, that I shared earlier. So this is a precursor or prerequisite to be able to get the language and comprehension needed to make it with a DRA level 4. As you can see, that's the expected DRA levels are there. For baseline, a level A. For trimester 1, a DRA level 1. Trimester 2, a DRA level 2 or 3. So towards the end of the year, again, that level 4. So here are the averages. For kinder in English, they're supposed to, the maximum number of points is 104 points. So by the end of the year, in order to hit that level 4 on the DRA, they need to be able to approximate that maximum number of points of 104. And these are the average. In English, the school with the highest average is Mancoa 61 currently. And in Spanish, the school with the current average cumulative score with the highest cumulative score is Barden with 51. Again, I have to stress the fact that all metrics are showing progress comparing the baseline. The next set of assessments is writing. So in addition to all those that I have shared related to reading, foundational skills, and math, we also have writing assessments. In kinder, first, and second grade, teachers administer assessments that we provide from educational services. And third through sixth, the teachers administer a focus interim assessment block, which is a state assessment that mirrors the format of the state summative assessment. So these interim assessments are shorter, but they're specific to the genres described below: narrative, information, informational, explanatory, and opinion. The only assessment genre that is administered twice is the narrative, which is administered at the beginning and at the end of the year. But we also want to know if students are able to write informational pieces or explanatory pieces, or if they can write opinion pieces or argumentation pieces. But those take place trimester 1 and 2. But those are not ones that we compare beginning and end. The only one that we compare beginning and end, again, is narrative. So these are ones that you'll see. It's hard to see necessarily the comparison between baseline and trimester 1 and trimester 2 because these are assessing different genres. And while we expect students to continue improving in their writing skills, the expectation when you write to a narrative is different than when you're writing an informational piece and when you're writing an opinion piece. However, we expect to see a change when comparing baseline and trimester 3 because that is the same genre, is narrative, beginning and end of the year. In between, we are assessing other types of writing pieces. Again, these are in kinder, the maximum rubric score would be at 20, and these are the averages. And the same for Spanish. Maximum writing score is 20. Again, first grade, and here are the averages. We have several schools that type for an average of 10 in first grade. In second grade, we have VRB leading with an average of 13 compared to the other schools in English. And in Spanish, Barden has had highest average baseline and trimester 1 for second grade writing. The assessments for third through sixth grade in writing, which I said were from the state interim assessment blocks. You have two numbers on each column. The first number represents the percentage of students that scored above standard. After the slash is the percentage of students that scored near standard. So in third grade, you see, for example, none of the kids scored above at Alisal Community, but 9% of the students scored near standard, which means that 91% were below standard at that point. However, when you move to trimester 1, that same school had no students again at above, but 27 now are near standard. So what we want to see is that progress getting close to standard and decreasing the percentage of students below standard. So if you were to look at Creekside, for example, if you combine the 10% above for trimester 1, right here, and the 44 near standard, there's 54% of students that are not below standard. 54% meaning 46% are below. So that's for third grade. So in fourth grade English, now you can see that more of the students with more language are actually reaching, a higher percentage of our students are reaching near standard, getting closer to the standards. You can see, if I were to look at VRB, for example, 3% of the students were above standard for baseline, 33 near standard, and now 20% at trimester 1 were above standard, and 61 near standard. So if you combine those 281, that means 19% are below. These assessments only level the students into 3 areas: below, again, near, or above. So what I'm reporting to you is above or near. As you continue going up the grades, you see that more of the students are reaching or approximating standard. We want to see is that first number above increasing and fewer below and more at near, those two that are showing they're not as behind in terms of standards mastery. The last one is another example of progress. You see Steinbeck with the highest number of students above and near standard with 29 and 42. So we want to see these metrics. I mean, I'm very proud to see the work our teachers and our students are doing, because you see that every one of the metrics that we have reported tonight regardless of the content or the type of assessment or the language, is showing improvement from baseline trimester 1. We have those end of the year expectations that we continue to communicate and work with all staffs on, so that there's clarity about what the goals are that every student needs to master in each grade level and area. So what are the next steps? Continue working with our instructional leadership team. We have our monthly ILTs, almost monthly. We have grade level collaboration through PLCs. We continue emphasizing the importance of multi-tier systems of support and responding to intervention, providing coaching and support, making sure that we're understanding of the English learner needs through our roadmap, that we do not disregard the importance of early literacy, collaborate with our partners as it pertains to early literacy, and that we continue to build capacity in all areas that are identified as areas needing to strengthen. Are there any questions?
Mr. Mercado?
Thank you for the presentation, Dr. Hernandez. I'm looking at with the start reading that progress has been made, particularly in the upper grades, 4, 5, and 6. Oh, thank you. I see that there's progress has been made for the start reading, particularly the upper grades, 4, 5, and 6. And I'm looking at 6th grade on page number 8. I'm looking at Elisa Virtual Academy. Everything has been positive, but that one shows negative. Was there a fluke in that data, or how do you attribute that?
You know, we have very few students in each grade level to report with something that I would recognize is a significant number to make a valid representation of a result. So these may be carried by just a few students, and it may be based on the particular circumstance when they tested. Again, many of our students there are testing remotely. Some do come in and are tested when they come in. One time a month, they do come in and get tested. So I might need to present the perspective that is a little different to you related to Eva in collaboration with the staff there to give you a picture that is more representative of them, as I don't think is a fair comparison necessarily, considering the specific setting circumstances for testing.
And how many students do we currently serve for APA?
Total enrollment, I believe, is 43 at this point.
And my final question for trimester 2, when do you anticipate having that?
Trimester 2, we have results for trimester 2 in March. We close, is based on when we close a window. In terms of the next 60 days, we're about 51 days away. The 60s.
And in March, is that roughly the same time where the students will take the California state test?
The state testing for the CASP in ELA and math and science, both regular or gen ed and summative alternate, takes place in May. The LPAC, we start testing students on the LPAC in February. We start with 4th and 5th to give the 6th graders a little bit more time to develop the language needed to show that required level.
Right. I'm of the opinion that, maybe it's not a good idea to test them on, have multiple types of tests within that same month. Because it is tough on our students.
It
Right.
is, and that's why we separate the assessments so that the LPAC takes place as a wave as possible from ELA and math. So that's why we schedule it, the state testing for ELA and math to happen in May. And to give them more opportunity to learn.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Ms. Gilpas?
Yes, thank you, Dr. Hernandez. Very thorough as always. And thank you. You do a good job with your research. So in terms of, well, you're in your role as evaluator also. And I think how you answered the question for Mr. Mercado kind of helped me. So you do more than just gather these numbers. So can you tell me a little bit as the director of evaluation, what does that mean? Do you go back and talk to the principals or do you, I'm sure with Mrs. Anzo, or what happens in the evaluation of the information that you get from these benchmarks?
So I collaborate, every month I meet with the site assistant principals who are the testing coordinators. And I review with them every single assessment or metric that is coming up. And then what is happening in terms of progress, we talk about strategies that they recognize are optimal as they are administering or determining how to best look at the data and analyze the data and take that back to a PLC or a grade level team process. In addition to that, we meet with principals every month. And we try to bring in one metric to determine the next steps. So you can look at the data all you want, but if you don't talk about, so now what? What are we gonna do about it? I ask them, if they ask me, I say, well, you know this, so now what are you gonna do about it? You have this information handy. Are you gonna do anything about it? Or you're just gonna look at it next time you administer? It's more about the actions that take place in between that are formative. That's why this information compared to what I presented in August is more about what's happening right now and how we act on it to effect some change next time I come back to present to you. If you'd like to add, Ms. Hanso, I don't know if you'd like to add anything else.
Yes, and I think in addition to that, Mr. Koenig and I have been for the past 2 years meeting with all our principals. So we do a goal setting, we do a mid-year review, and then he at the end gives them a summative evaluation. But one of the things that we do during our goal setting with them is we really want them to bring out their data and look at their data. And then we talk about, well, what strategies are you going to do in order to increase the reading proficiency, the math proficiency? They have discretionary funding that goes into their SIPSA, and what are their strategies they're going to use there. In addition to that, this year, because we know, I think one of the things we realized in cabinet was our principals are key to the success of a school. So their instructional leadership is really important. So we have created the PLC model within the principals, and they have their own PLC group in which we look at data. And it's again very young in its age, right? We just started, I think, back in August, but we had a principal summit. And within the groups, Mr. Duran leads one group, I lead a group, and Ms. Garcia leads another group. So we had a principal summit where they presented their data, they presented their strategies. We've done a learning walk, and then we have in between meetings to review data with them as well.
Thank you. Well, I think that you read my notes here because I wrote down in terms of supporting the principals with the results. I put here, now what? So now what happens? And that's the most important part, I think, of all the information that we get in the numbers. So we see these numbers and we know that we need improvement. And I know, and I think I've been on the board for a while, and then in my other life, I was on the board and I think for some years. And I think this is the first time that I've seen all of us pushing for accountability, because that is our job. That's our job, to encourage, to push those in charge of educating the students so that they keep doing better on their benchmarks on their state. So by the state test, by the time they go to the middle school, we don't have the high school district telling us, why are they coming in with such low scores? So we have been, this board, these 5 individuals have been pushing Mrs. Anzo and her department for accountability. So it's not coming from her, although she does her job very well, and Mr. Koenig, but I just want everybody to know that this board, and they're nodding yes, because we've been having those conversations. We want our kids to do better. So that is coming from us, because ultimately we're the ones that are responsible for what's going on with the students. So thank you for your thoroughness, for answering these questions, and let's continue on with the what now and keep doing better.
You're
Thank you.
welcome.
Ms. Garcia?
Okay, my turn. Okay, so thank you. I do see a lot of data here, which is nice to see, right? And you've been presenting very well. You know your stuff really good. So I just have a question. I have several questions, and
Go ahead.
I wanted to ask you, okay, so has there ever been, like, I think I had asked once a long time ago, have you had an opportunity to really look at the correlation between STAR, STAR reading and STAR math as it correlates to the actual results on the test? And have you had an opportunity to do that? Because I know that a lot of districts, we rely on STAR math and STAR reading. I don't know if it's giving us the results that we really want to get when the child actually takes that test at the end of the year. So my question to you is, and I think I had mentioned it once before, because we heavily rely on STAR, and I've given STAR several times. So it's like, okay, is there a correlation between how well those children or students are doing at the end of the year with the STAR test and how well they did on the CASP test? Have you had an opportunity to do that kind of correlation?
So I have, and I am not presenting it here tonight, but I am happy to present that back for trimester 2. Renaissance, having so many districts using STAR products, STAR Reading and STAR Math, has additional reports that are starting to estimate
Okay, yeah, they're on there.
progress on the state assessments. That's something that I can bring back next time. Because the other thing, and I'm glad I was we're purposely stressing Lexiles and quantiles because Lexiles and quantiles are also part of the result that is reported by the state. The state has a Lexile and quantile hub. And that Lexile and quantile hub informs how we can work towards that result expected on the state metric on the SBAC and ELA and math. So I'll be happy to present how Renaissance is correlating in terms of estimating the percentage of students that based on the current Lexile levels or quantile levels or scores would be meeting or exceeding standards. So that's something that the state, all coming from Metametrics, which is the company that does its statistics related to Lexiles and quantiles for Renaissance and for the state, we can bring that information to you.
Okay, and then, so the FIBs or
FIABs,
who's scoring those tests?
the teachers are.
Okay, are they getting compensated
No.
for, no? Okay, so
No,
it's just part of
but
their,
schools are accommodating time.
oh, they are.
So
Okay.
I know that the focus interim assessment block is a very short assessment. It's 12 to 14 questions. It's not an interim comprehensive assessment, which is the length of the state summit. The focus interim assessment is specific to the genre and only has 12 to 14 questions and about only 2 that require scoring by them. And many of our principals are accommodating time during staff meetings, during grade level time, so that they can actually complete that task. But unlike before, when we were administering the interim comprehensive assessment initially, when these came out, those were longer to score. These are very short and principals are accommodating for that as requested.
Okay, yeah, because I've also scored those, and then some, depending on how well the students do or
Mhm.
write, it takes a lot longer to score. And if you have 28 or 30 kids, it's a lot longer than that. Also, let's see, the DRA too, those are one-on-one tests, right?
Yes.
Do you happen to know how long it takes a teacher to administer that test?
Depending on the grade level. So if
Like
you're in,
kinder, let's go with kinder.
if you're in kinder, it could be between 15 and 20 minutes per student. As the students get into the higher levels in first and second grade, it could be 30 to 40 minutes, average 30. What we encourage, however, is the DRA is an assessment that lets you as a teacher know the behaviors the students are demonstrating
Sure.
as they are becoming readers. So we're asking teachers to please accommodate one or two several days a week so that you can have that information timely and not wait till the end of the trimester to try and assess them all.
Oh.
So try to accommodate maybe testing one or two students a day if it's possible. So then you can have that information for your small group reading or guided reading and not just have the entire class to test at once.
Okay. So what, so a teacher in kindergarten is doing the one-on-one test.
Mhm.
At the same time, is there an aide in the classroom kind
Yes.
of helping support because those tests-
Especially in kinder, that could take place with the support and just pulling a student here and there to administer it and catch up. It may be something that they can do as planning learning centers, for example, in first and second grade, and students have assigned activities where they can work independently for a few minutes, and then you have a small group for guided reading, and you may be able to assess one or two at that time as well.
Well, I know teachers are very creative.
Very
and
much,
They're very good at,
very much,
you know,
very
using their
much so,
time.
yes.
And then I have two more. Just so a while back we had asked about spreadsheets, about maybe providing us a spreadsheet, and maybe this is not for you, but maybe a spreadsheet with all the interventions per site, because that kind of helps us to like to gauge those interventions. Maybe if all the sites have storm and they're doing really well in writing, maybe that's something that is very very informative to us, like what interventions we could really sink our teeth into, and maybe those sites that don't have them, maybe that's something that we could look at, try to provide. And then the last thing that I'm going to say, I promise for this part,
Mhm.
the ESGI, I'm so thankful. I've used as ESGI, it's on the agenda right now for approval for one of the schools. I'm not even sure which one, but I don't know if you have any experience with ESGI for primary grades.
ESGI, as I understand it,
program.
is a similar assessment. I'm not,
Yeah.
I,
Anyway, I really
it's similar
had
to the
used that.
phonics serve.
Very good. I hope I use it. Thank you.
I just wanted to also add that when you asked about developmental reading assessment, we do make every effort to provide at least 1 day per trimester for every teacher in K-1-2 of release with a substitute teacher. Obviously, we're contingent on whether there are subs available. But we do a designated day per trimester for every teacher at every school in K-1-2 to have support from a sub that can come in and either release to cover the class or to maybe have the teacher assess additional students that may not have been assessed until that day. Not always can we keep to the promise because sometimes we're lacking subs. This is the issue across the board. You're welcome.
Thank you. One more question, Mr. McCown.
I was looking at the next steps. So we have our instructional leadership team, the grade level collaboration, the MTSS and RTI. Are any of the school sites still using or implementing the gradual release of responsibility model?
I guess it varies between how that strategy is incorporating with the programs that that are part of their site's initiatives. So each school has an instructional leadership team, and they have initiatives that call for that. In terms of the call for, like for example, we may have a school that is facilitating STORM, another school that may be facilitating step writing, another one that may be facilitating GLAD. All those may come with that as a strategy, a gradual release, so that as students build the mastery of a skill or concept, then they become more independent with the I do, we do, you do type of model. I don't know, I'd like to add a little bit more to that, Ms. Ansel.
Yes, and I think you've answered it, is the I do, we do model is embedded into the instruction our teachers do. So we are not training on gradual release of responsibility, but the programs that are coming in have it incorporated.
Thank you.
Any question? Mr. Ocampo?
No.
No question? Thank you, Mr.
Thank you.
Hernandez. Thank you, Doctor. Public comments concerning items on the open session agenda and or not agenda item. There will be a 2-minute limit for individuals and 20 minutes limit to total public comments. There is no setting of one time for other individuals. Individuals wish to address the Board of Trustees on opposition agenda item and or other items may do so at this time. 6:40. We have Alma Loredo.
Buenas tardes. Buenas tardes, miembros de la mesa directiva, presidente Jiménez, superintendente Koenig. Mi nombre es Alma Loredo, yo soy madre de 3 hijos y organizadora de padres con VHC Padres Unidos. Y hoy estoy aquí representando el trabajo de VHC. Hemos hecho una abogacía a nivel estatal que ha permitido que las escuelas comunitarias tengan una inversión de 4.1 billones. Esto es histórico. Y están disponibles para los distritos que apliquen para esta subvención. Y nosotros estamos contentos de que Alisal haya aplicado para esta beca y los animamos a que vuelvan a aplicar para la beca de implementación. La persona que va a coordinar las escuelas comunitarias es crítico para comenzar a crear la relación con los padres y la comunidad. Esta es una prioridad para VHC Padres Unidos y venimos hoy a ponernos a la orden y ofrecer nuestra experiencia para cualquier proceso de planeación y pedimos ser parte de la planificación para crear la infraestructura que permite avanzar en las metas que nos dan los 4 pilares del marco de escuelas comunitarias. Pedimos que consideren lo que estamos ofreciendo y agradecemos que ustedes lo traigan a la mesa, ya que esto es crucial para el avance de nuestra comunidad de Alisal. Seguimos ofreciéndonos y sabemos que ustedes tomarán en cuenta nuestro apoyo y disponibilidad para la auténtica colaboración. Esperando escuchar pronto de ustedes, con respeto, Comité Padres Unidos.
Good afternoon, board members, board President Mr. Jimenez, Superintendent Koenig. My name is Alma Loredo. I'm the mother of 3 children and an organizer with Padres Unidos and parent organizer with VHC Padres Unidos. Today, I'm here representing the work that VHC Unidos has done at the state level, lobbying for community schools. We have achieved a historic investment of $4.1 billion that are available for all districts to apply for these grants. We are very happy that Alisal USD has applied for this grant, and we encourage you to please apply again for the implementation grant. The person who will be coordinating community schools is critical to begin to create relationships with parents and community. This is a priority for VHC Padres Unidos, and we come here today to make ourselves available and offer our expertise to for any part of the process and the planification. We ask to be part of the planning process to create the infrastructure that will allow advancement in the goals that will give us the 4 pillars of the community schools framework. We ask that you consider what we are offering, and we think that you will bring that you're bringing this to the board because this is crucial for the advancement of our Alisal community. We know that you will be taking this into consideration, our support and availability for an authentic collaboration. Hoping to hear from you soon. With respect, Comité Padres.
Thank you. Time 6:45. Association comment, Alisa Teacher Association. Thank you. California School Employee Association, Chapter 577. No comment. Thank you, Keiko. United Substitute Teacher Union. No person. Okay. Now we have the board member and superintendent report. Any reports? Mrs. Garcia?
I don't really have a report, but I just want to wish everyone a happy and safe Thanksgiving break.
Mrs. Gilpas?
Yes, thank you. I just wanted to share what a pleasure it is to work with all of you. I'm glad we're here and healthy, and we have a full table here, so there's no more room for anything. We could always add some chairs, I guess. I'm just kidding. So anyways, I did want to acknowledge that we have a future MCOE trustee, Ms. Sandra Ocampo, and she's currently with High School District and has been for a while present with us. Thank you for being here. And just for us, just kudos to everybody in the district, Ms. Claudia Melendez, who's always here, Ms. Sylvia Santos, anybody who comes to the board meeting. It just, need to be thankful, and it's a good thing that my colleague here wished everybody a good Thanksgiving, didn't you? Yeah, right? That's what you said, right? Okay, good.
Second.
Or Happy New Year, Merry Christmas, whatever, but thank you, everybody, for being here, and it's a good feeling to be here today in Nalasau.
Thank you. Ms. Ocampo?
Yeah, just like to, show some degree of gratitude to the community for having voted. I think I picked up about 60, I think it was 60% of the vote. So I am grateful. So I just want to publicly thank the community. I spent, I was deep undercover. I spent 50 days, 3 hours a day out in the community talking to people, and I had a lot of wonderful conversations with a lot of, just wonderful community members. Also put together a list of what I call people of interest, that possibly we can use at some later time, maybe with our community, the community school funding that we have, maybe we can bring in some people to assist with that grant, possibly. And I'm also glad to be back. It's nice to be back on the board. And I do share the sentiment that La Señora Gilpa shared, that it's been wonderful working with all the board members, and I do feel their support and their appreciation, and I would say even their love sometimes. The only other thing that I feel compelled to do is to publicly apologize for tearing up flyer of my opponent. I think that it was obviously not the type of message that we want to give to the different groups that we as a board represent, because I believe that it showed, at least on my part, it showed a lack of fair play and also just a lack of good sportsmanship. And we don't want that message. We don't want to transmit that message to the different groups that we represent. So I'm cognizant of that. And I can assure you that I will not indulge in that type of behavior for my 4 years that remain here for me, because I have no desire to embarrass any of you, or have no desire to embarrass myself either, quite frankly. So that's what I had to say. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Any more comments? Mr. Mercado? No? Okay. Well, we continue. Now we we move to consent agenda. Motion to approve. I'm sorry. To approve to consent agenda.
So move.
A second.
We'll pull out this one. No? We don't pull out the human resources. Okay. Okay, thank you. Thank you for your help. Now, a motion to approve the agenda. We need,
May I have a?
yeah, go ahead.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you. I know, I just wanted to comment on the field trips involving overnight travel. I know the last time I had voted no on some of the field trips, and I really didn't explain myself. And I think that I'm not gonna pull this one, and I think that it's a good experience for students. When they go to the science camps or they're educational and social for them. I just worry because it's overnight. And so I don't want to disagree with the educational part of this with students. I just want to make sure that at these field trips that the students are being taken care of, that there's good supervision, because at night everybody's asleep and the students are our responsibility and the parents put them in our hands. So I spoke to the superintendent and he talked to me about how there is good supervision. And so we want students to have that. I just want us to be careful with those, and just it's liability for the district, but more than that, we want our students to enjoy themselves to the fullest and to be safe out there. Thank you.
Okay,
Hello.
thank you. Mr. Ocampo?
I would like to make just a comment on 5L, which is the Read to Me project. I was just, as I read through these, every now and then something pops up at me, and this was something that popped up at me. And the reason it popped up at me because it just seems like a wonderful idea. We're taking, I believe it's 5th and 6th graders who are reading to their brothers and sisters who are, I believe, from very young, 5 years of age, maybe six years of age, and it becomes part of their homework to read to their siblings. So it just popped out at me because it's a very simple idea. It's very low cost, and it has a real potential to really have an impact. And I think it's like earlier I was talking about the idea of being intentional about a learning culture, and for sure this can be something that could be part of some future maybe learning culture that we'll outline here in this district. I hope that we will at some point and be more intentional about it. But it certainly does contribute to a culture of learning. So I just wanted to mention that. Just kind of, sometimes things impress me. So just wanted to share that.
Ms. Garcia?
So, and I wanted to talk about F, the Keenan Safety Audit. So I did review that in, so I've been asking for a safety audit, right? Is this what is supposed to be given to me, like the safety audit? Because, I mean, when I looked at the safety audit, I really kind of saw more like maintenance issues. And I wasn't really looking for maintenance issues because maintenance issues, we all should be looking at our sites and through those lens because Williams inspection comes around and we want our school safe, right? Those are safety issues. Things are broken, we need to fix them. Safeties, the swings broken, we need to make sure students aren't getting on the swings. I was looking more for an inspection of the sites where we're looking to see if an area needs more lighting, an area, a certain classrooms or certain parts of the building might require special locks. Maybe some fences that should be placed strategically in the sites. So I was looking more at lenses through those lenses, not maintenance issues, because I mean, maintenance issues we could always take care of. So those are the lenses that I was looking for it. When I'm talking about safety, maybe I should have called it, I don't know, security, maybe safety security audit. But yeah, those are the lenses that I was requesting more so than a Keenan safety audit and based on maintenance. And once again, I was a principal for a long time, so I know that, before Williams comes on your doorstep in August, September, you want to take care of all those maintenance issues like in the summer, right? So you do your walkthroughs in probably April to make sure that you have plenty of maintenance opportunities for the maintenance department to come in and, make sure everything's working and in good order so that when Williams inspection comes around, it's flying with, with great colors, right? So, I mean, I did look at the Keenan Safety Report. And thank you for putting that together, but my lens were more like, okay, where's, like I said earlier, I was looking more at maybe the danger stranger type of safety. I also saw the Williams visit at LSL and then maybe this is, I don't know if it's a comment or a question, but do principals get training on what the Williams inspection is looking for? And by that, do they then turn around and give that instruction or that direction to the teachers? If you're a new teacher, you're not really sure how much paper is supposed to be put on the doors and the walls. And, before any teacher starts putting things up at the beginning of the school year, they should be told, okay, this is what you can't do, so that you're not having to take it down before the Williams inspection comes around. Those are just questions.
I can answer a little bit of the Williams. I am the Williams coordinator for the district. So part of our preparation is to ensure that the principals know, especially that what's needed in a classroom. Boxes need to be secure, the paper, the amount of paper. So I sent out all that information to the principals. It's reviewed during maybe leadership or a meeting. I also sent it out to the teachers so that they're aware of their own classroom. And then in coordination with the maintenance department, our custodians or our supervisors go out and inspect the classrooms to make sure that that's taken care of as well. And so I know on the report that's on the agenda, one of our new schools, Steinbeck, had never been inspected before. So we expected to have some quick findings, but those findings they can be taken care of right then and there. So those are the things that we have never had any findings with our facilities or even with the paper. It's usually with textbooks. So this time around, it was the opposite. So we were a little surprised, but we will work on that.
Ms. Gilpas?
Yes, well, actually, I wanted to congratulate. I would also looked at the Keenan safety audit and everything was taken care of in a timely manner. So thank you to Mr. Anzo and Mr. Abbasi and anyone involved with doing that, because there was a lot of little things there. And so thank you very much. And I think that's something that's done every year, correct? Right. Okay. Thank you.
No more questions, no comments? Okay. Now, we have the motion. First motion, what's Gilpas? This, Mr. Mercado. Okay. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passed by 5 votes. Okay, we going, how to say, we going to put that 3 items from the human resources on table. On- Okay, table we reconsider it tonight. D, E, and F. We need to read those. No. Okay. 6D, 6D, E, and F. Perfect. Thank you. C, D, was C, D, and F, right? D, E, F. Okay, now I need a motion.
Is this for
Approve.
6E?
6D, E, and F.
I'll make a motion to pass that. You were asking for motion, I believe?
I need a motion for the A, the public hearing, Alice Union School District. Article for no negotiation with Alice Teacher Association, ATA. But this is open at 7. Close 7:01. Now, I need a motion to approve educational service additional 1.0 FTE Community School Coordinator.
So move.
Oh, I'm sorry. I I go back to B, a job description, first reading, community school coordinator. Now, I need a motion for the educational service additional 1.8 or 1.0 FTE community school coordinator.
President Jimenez, before we go ahead and go with the 6C, maybe have a few words on B, since it is first reading. Okay, before we move on to C, I would like to say a few words for 6B.
6E.
The job description, the first reading. So I'm looking at the first reading and it's asking for at least of AA degree. And I've looked at this, at the salary that this individual would get, and if I read it correctly, it's about 142,000 a year. And I figure for that amount of money, shouldn't we ask more than an AA degree?
Yes, we absolutely should, and we'll make that change before the second reading.
Okay. And also on a procedural note, normally we would have a first reading and then a second reading and then approval of the position. But right now it seems that we'll only have a first reading and then which item C is the approval of that. So normally we do have a first and a second reading, and I'm wondering like why are we skipping the second reading? I kind of feel like it's a little rushed. I didn't have enough time to get my own thoughts into this. I mean, I believe in the program itself, but I want to make sure it's done correct. I don't know if anyone else feels that way.
Gripa. Ms.
Well,
Gripa.
well, yeah, I was gonna ask for a point of clarification. There has to be a second reading. You referred to that just a minute ago also.
Yes, there will be a second reading before we advertise the position. We're trying to get things moving on this position so that we can get the community schools program started. But that's a good point. We won't advertise it. I think that we should probably move to table items C, D, E, and F under paragraph 6.
C, D, E, and F.
Yes.
Okay. Now, we move to G, right?
Yes.
We need a motion to approve the job description, second reading, database coordinator. Need
I'll make the motion.
Mr. Mercado,
I'll second.
Mr. Ocampo, second. Any comments or question?
I
Mr.
did have a
Ocampo?
question. if the salary, I saw that, is that $175,000? Is that what that is for? That's what was written on the job description. Was that correct? Seems like a lot of money. but,
This includes benefits and salary. So employees get
Total cost of the position, including the salary, the health and welfare benefits, and the statutory benefits, the social security, the retirement and everything.
Oh, that makes sense.
I want to.
Yes.
Point of clarification, if I may, please. So it's the second reading for this position,
Yeah.
right? But we're taking action?
Good question.
I'm not- I'm
The
not-
second reading, when we do the
Is-
second reading,
is-
we take action to
Okay.
approve the job description for
Okay.
the new position.
Thank you.
No more questions, comments? In any motion?
You have a motion by me and a second by Mr. Ocampo.
Okay, sorry. Okay, and then any comments or question? I need a vote. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion 5 vote. Now I need a motion to pass the variable term waiver for the 2022, 2023 school year.
Second.
Ms. Gilpaz, Mr. Ocampo. Any comments or question? No. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Pass 5 vote. I need a motion to approve the provisional internship permit 2022, 2023. Ms. Garcia. Mr. Mercado, any comments or question? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Pass by 5 votes. Okay. Now, public comments, closed session agenda items only.
There was
Right.
one item on administrative service.
Oh, sorry. Discuss a new organization to be considered for the 2023 MCSBA Excellent in Educational Awards. Mr. Mercado?
I'm on the mindset with Mr. Ocampo of his comment earlier about the Read to Me project. I did notice that it was in the list there for the Excellence in Education Award. So I would be inclined to support that organization. I don't know how everyone else feels.
Who was? Okay. I support that.
Just adding it.
Yeah, go ahead.
Thank you. It's just adding it to the list that already exists.
Right.
Yeah, because it's there and I believe we would collectively decide on which ones. It could be more than one. But that's one that's stood out for me since we did approve it on the consent agenda for various years, actually.
Yeah, I would be inclined to support Mr. Mercado. on that. Yeah. I don't know if you need a vote or whether we just give you recommendations, or I don't know how we do this.
Read to Me is already on the list of organizations. I guess, yeah, I think we would need a vote if you're saying that's the one you want to support.
Yes, go ahead.
Do we have to make a decision right now who we want to support? No, right? I mean, because I haven't had a chance to look at all the rest of them. So I think right now, I think we're just clarifying whether or not they work and, right? But you said they're on the list.
They are on the
Yeah.
list.
Okay.
So
We're just adding, I think, is what we're doing, right? Right now.
they're
We're
already
adding
on
to
the
the
list. Yeah.
We're not making a final decision, I don't think.
Right.
That's
No.
night.
Mr. Mercado.
Mayor Manuel is here, but I believe we are making a decision on this because the recommendations are there listed for us. And the way I understand it is we choose one or however many we feel to move forward.
Well, I have a point of clarification, if I may, President.
Yes, please.
So as the agenda reads, it's just a discussion and we're not voting on anything.
Of course.
So it's a discussion and so we discussed it. So we fulfilled our due diligence, I think, all of us. Think,
Okay.
We might need more time to kind of research and come up with stuff. I mean, just off of the top, it's a little hard, a little bit.
Now we move. Um, Okay, we need more discussion? Okay. Now we move to 9A. Public comment, closed session agenda item only. There will be 2-minute limit for individuals of public comments and 20-minute limit on total public comments. There is no settings of one time to other individuals. Individual wishing to address the Board of Trustees to close session agenda item may do so at this time. 7:12, stand 7:12. Ending time 7:13. Adjourn to close session at 7:14. Thank you.